right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Netting the Big Ten, the last-minute venue change that was pitch perfect for St. Louis.
It was breezy, warm, and windy in some cases today with wind gusts over 30 miles an hour, but they'll turn a completely different direction tomorrow. What that means for the rest of our work week's temperatures and when we'll see our next chance for rain ahead.
Our top story, another call for change after another detainee death inside the City Justice Center.
Nobody should go to jail and being in jail become a death sentence.
Tonight, we're learning new details about the death of a man being held at the CJC. Good evening, I'm Mike Bush. The detainee died yesterday morning. 5 on your side's Laura Barczewski has the latest on the investigation and reaction from the jail's oversight board.
Since 2020, 14 inmates have died at the St. Louis City Justice Center. 2 of them died this year, including the most recent death on Saturday around 7 a.m. Chair of the Detention Facilities Oversight Board, Reverend Darrell Gray, says he received the call about the tragedy from Public Safety Director Charles Coyle.
A young man, a detainee, had gone into cardiac arrest, and that at that time, that was all the information that he had. I subsequently learned that the person was still on the second floor, which is basically the processing unit.
Detectives with the St. Louis Police Force Investigations Unit were called to the jail where the man was found unconscious. First responders tried to help him, but he ended up dying. A statement from the FIU says while the investigation is still early, there are no obvious signs of trauma. The official cause of death has not been released. Gray says the board is still concerned about the medical care inside the jail.
If we don't have an effective medical unit, as we have seen in the past, oftentimes people with existing conditions end up in the prison population, and subsequently we've had those who have died because we have not been able to diagnose or analyze at that critical juncture.
A statement from Connor Kerrigan with Mayor Tashara Jones' office says our priority is to complete the investigation, continue to update the family, and respect their privacy. As of Sunday, there were 761 inmates at the CJC. Gray says the facility is still understaffed.
Processing can be a logjam, which means that you've got too many detainees in holding cells, dozens at a time. And so things occur. And so you're not, because you're in processing, you haven't weeded out the violent offender and the non-violent offender.
He says they are still having trouble investigating numerous complaints, some of which ended in death.
Nobody should go to jail and being in jail become a death sentence, period.
Reporting in St. Louis, Laura Barczewski, 5 on your side.
Gray says the acting jail commissioner, Tammy Ross, has not responded to the board's requests for meetings or information. Developing tonight, one person is dead after being hit by a car in Jefferson County. The crash happened on Gravois Road near McNamee Road in High Ridge. Police say the driver stayed at the scene, but so far no other details have been released. New details tonight on a deadly wrong-way crash in Chesterfield. Police say a 79-year-old man was driving westbound in the eastbound lanes of I-64 near Timberlake Manor Parkway last night. He hit 2 other cars and a semi-truck. He was pronounced dead. His name has not been released yet. 2 other people suffered injuries. A GoFundMe page has been set up to help the family of a young St. Charles County girl who was hit and killed by her school bus. That accident happened Thursday on Lupine Court in O'Fallon. The girl's name and details of the crash have not been released. We're told the driver of the Fort Zumwalt school bus is cooperating with investigators. We have a link to the fundraiser in the As Seen on TV section of KSDK.com. Tonight, all lanes of Highway 141 under Interstate 44 are back open. The interchange was closed last week due to flooding from the Merrimack River. MoDOT says more flooded out roads in the area will reopen sometime on Monday. Let's turn it over to weather impact meteorologist Gary Frank. He's tracking our next chance for rain and some above average temperatures for the week, right, Gary?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like November once again, and it's another Sunday night that we talk about dry conditions, at least in the short term. I do expect that as we look outside of the airport, pretty quiet right now. I think there are going to be some spots dealing with fog, probably not at the airport, but around some of the low-lying areas with all that moisture that still is around. You'll notice as that rain has exited, here's the main core of that system, and on the back edge of things, we'll see a few clouds, but more so that north and northwesterly flow. that we're already starting to see. You can notice where it's clear, where we see those numbers in the blue, the 40s. That's what we're settling into after we got to 70 today. We have low to mid 40s, even as we look locally 45 in Alton, 48 Creve Coeur, 51 in Millstadt. So it is cooler, and tomorrow morning we're going to drop some 7 to 9 degrees from what I just showed you, but patchy fog could be expected in a few spots as well. Our main stories the next few days and our main weather impact is overall it is still not cold. Keep in mind we have not hit 32 degrees in St. Louis City. We've hit 35, but not 32. But our rain chances look light and low over the next few days. We'll talk about how much rain, that one rain chance we're looking at, and just how warm it's going to be over the coming days.
Tonight, rumors are swirling about who will join the second Trump administration, and those names include some Missouri politicians. Congressman Sam Graves announced on X that he's being considered for transportation secretary. Senator Eric Schmitt and Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey's names have also been circulated for U.S. Attorney General. Late tonight, President-elect Donald Trump announced he's tapping Tom Homan to head the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Homan served as acting director of ICE during Trump's first administration. On Meet the Press this morning, Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming says he was in support of a multi-billion-dollar package to deport millions of people in the country illegally.
We need to start with the people who are felons, who have been left in this country, people who are on the terrorist watch list, people who have been convicted in other countries of murder and rape, people who are committing crimes in this country.
Earlier today, NBC News projected Mr. Trump as the winner in Arizona, completing a sweep of all 7 swing states and a final electoral vote count of 312. President Joe Biden will host the president-elect for an Oval Office meeting on Wednesday. Tonight, Missouri's Planned Parenthood is fighting to make abortion more accessible 5 days after voters overturned the state's abortion ban. Amendment 3 passed by nearly 95,000 votes, with most of its support coming from St. Louis, Kansas City, and Columbia. Just hours after the vote count, Planned Parenthood filed a lawsuit to stop the enforcement of some abortion restrictions. This includes multiple outright abortion bans, laws, and criminal penalties targeting providers. Planned Parenthood is urging the courts to move quickly so it can open its doors by December.
We are fully preparing and eager to provide abortion services once the amendment takes effect and when it's legally and when we're legally able to do. We have the staff and the facilities to do it. We just need the court to understand the urgency.
In Jefferson City, Republican lawmakers are drafting new language to find ways to bring back the ban. Legal experts say a new ballot initiative could be put up for a vote as soon as 2026. Sports betting is coming to the Show Me State. Voters narrowly passed Amendment 2 with a margin of just 4,300 votes. So what's next? A recount is possible if the challenging party agrees to pay for it. Missouri now has until December 1st, 2025 to implement sports books at casinos. However, industry experts believe you'll be able to place bets even sooner.
Typically, it's 6 to 9 months, the process, and that process includes laboratory testing of the sports books. It includes checking people and personnel and employees. It includes coming up with a betting catalog, what events you can bet on, what events you can't bet on, stuff like that.
Legal experts tell 5 on Your Side, while in-person betting at casinos will launch first, online sports betting will take a little longer. Tonight on The Record, Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt talks one-on-one with our political editor Mark Maxwell about campaigning for President Trump, rumors about a cabinet role, IVF, and mass deportations of undocumented migrants. Plus, Congressman-elect Wesley Bell on his move from the St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office to Capitol Hill. That's coming up in about 40 minutes after Sports Plus. A live look at City Park tonight. Hundreds of college sports fans filled the stands earlier today for the first ever Big Ten Conference event in St. Louis. And new tonight, our Andy Kroll hears how a new milestone for the city could be a win for the local economy.
3 weeks ago, the Big Ten Women's Soccer Championship game didn't have a field after a conflict arose with the original facility. That's when organizers called the St. Louis Sports Commission. Now the city getting a kick out of hosting their first ever Big Ten conference event for any Division I sport, Brad Walkler said.
This is great. To be able to build that relationship with the Big Ten first and foremost is really important for us. I think having an event like women's soccer here in a really big soccer community is just a tremendous opportunity for St. Louis to be able to host this type of event.
With the addition of Oregon, UCLA, USC, and Washington in August, this year's Big Ten women's soccer tournament started in a 10-team format, but ended with a championship match on the same pitch that's cheered on the likes of Berkey, Parker, and Klaus.
It's funny because you couldn't get farther away from St. Louis. It's great that we're in the middle of the country with USC, UCLA, Washington, and Rutgers.
Playing at the same time was St. Louis University's women's soccer team, competing in the A10 tournament and locking in a 7th straight championship title. UCLA, with quite the debut, ultimately got the win over Rutgers.
A perfect championship Sunday here in St. Louis, capped off by a dominant performance by the UCLA Bruins.
But downtown is also in the W column, Walkler says, as more Big Ten events potentially come and support local businesses.
Because there's not a whole lot of stadiums that are like City Park, and so to have that opportunity to host the event in this facility has been really great and allowed us to showcase some of the things that St. Louis does have to offer.
No Big Ten events are on the calendar for 2025, but the Sports Commission says conversations are in the works. Annie Kroll, 5 on your side.
She's only 15 and already creating a legacy.
I think she was born to help. I think she was born to inspire others.
Meet the St. Louis teen living up to her name, helping kids in need and sharing a powerful message of compassion. Treading through winter, the card check you should do now that just makes sense.
Temperatures much above average today and really over the last few days, and that trend may continue for the next couple of weeks. What that means for our temperatures today and the next several days as we approach the rest of the week.
Making a Difference is sponsored by Midwest Bank Center.
They say wisdom comes with age, but as you're about to find out in tonight's Making a Difference report, one St. Louis teen is proving that compassion knows no calendar.
We need to get some more kids to play with us.
Most children dream about tomorrow.
You want to play Uno?
Legacy Jackson couldn't wait that long.
Xavier, you going to be on my team? Yeah.
The 15-year-old's impact can be seen in every smile in this play space inside Gateway 180, an emergency shelter for families.
Hi, how are you?
And it all started with a little girl who couldn't sit still while the grown-ups did all the giving.
4.
While other kids were learning their ABCs, Legacy was learning a different lesson, one about giving back.
Every Christmas morning, we would go out and feed the homeless before we got to go home and open our gifts and Thanksgiving and any opportunity that my mom really saw for me and my brother to do community service.
But at every service project, this tiny volunteer noticed something missing: other kids.
It was very annoying because every time she's like, there are no kids here. And I knew, like, before we even got there, she's going to be complaining about the kids.
So one night at dinner, 7-year-old Legacy served up an idea that would change everything.
To have community service or to do community service while having fun.
That dinner table dream became Little Legacies, where young hearts learned to serve by spreading joy. From giving teddy bears to cancer patients, to brightening days at senior centers, Legacy turned giving back into a celebration.
Picture being awakened by your mom at 4 a.m.
Her idea proved so powerful, she became the youngest person in Missouri to give a TED Talk.
And we put a lot of smiles on the kids' faces.
Sharing her message alongside world-changing adults.
And hope that you will be inspired to do what you can to make the world a better place.
If you're down, she would like lift you up and make you laugh and stuff. And like just to be around her, she's like so uplifting. I love it, love it, love it.
Her latest project? Transforming this once worn play space at Gateway 180.
You don't necessarily equate a homeless shelter with joy, but that's what Legacy brought.
Yes, that's your name. Here you go.
But don't expect her to take a bow.
How can you be an agent of change in your community?
She didn't even like getting applause after her TED Talk.
You don't like getting applause? How come?
No, I don't know. I just feel like I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. 1, 2, 3.
A humble spirit that has proven contagious.
I think she was born to help. I think she was born to inspire others, to do for others or serve for others.
I wanted to be just like her some days.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
It takes a lifetime to build a legacy.
Get over here.
There you go.
But at 15, Legacy Jackson is already showing us how it's done.
I got one.
Say uno.
Building hers one smile at a time.
If you'd like to learn more about Little Legacies, we can connect you to their Facebook page when you visit this story on our website. And a reminder, if you know an inspiring person or someone making a difference for others, let me know by email at mbush@ksdk.com. One of the largest Jewish book festivals in the U.S. is taking place at the St. Louis Jewish Community Center. The St. Louis Jewish Book Festival celebrates authors and books of all genres. This marks the 45th year of the event. It continues through next Sunday. Veterans Day is tomorrow. Several events are planned on both sides of the river to commemorate the bravery and sacrifice of those who served our country. For a full list of those events and the special deal for our vets, just text the word veteran or vet to 314-425-5355 and we'll send you a link to your phone. Meteorologist Gary Frank rejoins us now with that weather impact forecast. And after a rainy Saturday, sounds like we're going to have some dry time, Gary.
Yeah, we need some of that dry weather. Even just a little bit of rain here and there's okay, but we certainly don't need the rain that we had days ago. As you know, we start off the week for some of you guys coming back from out of town for the long weekend. Things are quiet. The wind may be moving this camera around a little bit, but you'll see that overall the flag is on the light side. We'll see right now temps have cooled down from where they were. 51 degrees, a west-northwest breeze at 3 miles an hour. And once again, it's after 11 o'clock, and I'm talking about how we're not far off our average temperature for the day at 11 o'clock, because that average is 58. We got to 70 degrees, and 51's the lowest that we've seen so far here. So overall, over the last couple of days, we've had some rain, right? And it wasn't a ton. It didn't really add to the river flooding, which has gone down, but we did see about 2/3 of an inch of rain in St. Louis, and that really worked its way up to about 8 3/4 of an inch of rain so far that we've had. It's the wettest start to November. We've talked about that, but it's by almost 2 inches, and we're just about a little over an inch away from a monthly record. Now, we have a lot of the rest of the month to go, and we could get there, but with all that moisture at the surface, don't be surprised as things calm down and cool down that we'll see some patchy fog. Especially you'll note where all these contours of that fog are kind of settling into some of the rivers. Low-lying areas really going to see this tomorrow. Maybe not widespread dense fog, but it will impact your commute tomorrow morning if you do have to go to work or anything like that. Temps starting off in the 40s. It'll be cooler, but do expect some of that fog for the first part of the day. Then the wind's going to start to move around a little bit. You'll notice that out of the north and northwest. And as things move around, even though it's out of the north and northwest at 10 miles an hour after our sunrise at 6:40, we're still going to be in the mid-60s. So once again, above normal again. That's the trend that seems to continue. And as I talked about from the Climate Prediction Center, the warmer than average temperature outlook, it's because there's really no polar or cold air that settles in for any long period of time. That's why we have not seen 32 degrees. We've had our first frost this season a couple of times, but the latest first freeze in St. Louis is November 27th. Now, we're around in the top 25 of latest freezes. That means hitting 32 or below it. And look, you can look at every single day, 66, 60, 64. No freeze. You see those numbers overnight? 40s. Those are all 40s here. And so as a result, I don't think it's going to get all that cold. In fact, we're pretty steady for the next few days. That rain chance on Wednesday, 1/4 inch or less. It's relatively dry. We'll start to dry out, catch up, and do all that yard work that you've been putting off with all those wet leaves for the last few days.
It's Paul Cook, your traffic guy from Today in St. Louis. We are gearing up for those cold temperatures and rough road conditions. When it comes to being safe and ready for the winter, making sure your tires have enough tread can save you some major headaches. So I stopped by Firestone to talk with Tim Liebig. He shared the easiest way to check your tread without making a special trip to the tire shop.
If you don't have time to go into a tire store, you can do the old Abe Lincoln, put your penny in a tread and see how your treads are looking.
A rule rule of thumb is the rule of the penny.
Turn Lincoln's head upside down to measure the tread. If you see the head, then it's time to get tires or start considering getting tires before the winter.
If you can see Lincoln's entire head, your tires are worn to 2/32 or less. Those tires can be a serious safety risk. Their stopping distance and the traction they get in the rain and snow is significantly decreased. So remember, Honest Abe won't lie about your tire safety. Our next Winter Ready on the Move looks at your battery and engine fluids. Stay safe out there. Paul Cook, 5 on your side.
Tragedy on a college campus. The deadly gunfire that broke out after a day of celebration.
Cardinal View of G.
Oh my gosh.
Terrifying moments overnight on the campus of Tuskegee University in Alabama as homecoming celebrations were wrapping up. One person is dead, 16 others were hurt after a gunman opened fire. An 18-year-old was killed. We're told he was not a student. A 25-year-old man was arrested and now faces federal charges of possessing a machine gun. Tonight, the Florissant Valley Fire Protection District is mourning one of their own. Purple and black bunting hangs from the firehouse in honor of firefighter paramedic Timothy Clancy. He died unexpectedly at home on Thursday. Clancy served his hometown department for nearly a quarter of a century.
He was very passionate about Florissant, cared about the residents. He was a hometown guy that, he put his all into everything he had to do in this community.
The veteran firefighter leaves behind a wife, 6 kids, and 3 grandchildren. Clancy's visitation will be held Tuesday at Hutchins Funeral Home from 2 until 7. His funeral mass is Wednesday at Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Florissant. And we'll be right back. A consumer alert tonight for parents. Mattel is apologizing for a misprint on the packaging of its new line of singing dolls for the upcoming musical film Wicked. The website listed on the back of the box takes you to an adult website instead of the movie's landing page. The dolls are sold at Target. Thanksgiving is still a few weeks away, and yet they're already decking the halls. The Rockefeller Center Christmas tree arrived in New York City this weekend, and here in the bi-state, Wonderlights Christmas at Worldwide Technology Raceway opens for the season on Friday. The track in Madison, Illinois has been decorated in more than 1 million lights. Tickets are already on sale for Brewery Lights at Anheuser-Busch and Winter Wonderland at Tillis Park, which opened later this month. And there you have it. 5 on your side at 10, a late edition. And of course, we're always streaming on 5+. Don't forget to start your day with Today in St. Louis. That begins at 4 a.m. And now, here's Frank Cusimano with Sports Plus.